Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm taking my seat, but I'm.
Call in the meeting today. This is the Estacada Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Chair Drinkwine is not able to join us this evening. I will be running it, Paul Strobel, and we'd like to start off with the roll call.
Present. Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Now we got time for citizen community group comments. Do we have anything at this time?
Nothing at this time.
Okay,
And I do want to say, if I may, we seem to be having some technical difficulties, so anybody viewing online, we're freezing up a little bit. So we may look a little odd from time to time. We'll just, and I don't know how to fix that, so I apologize.
so thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you. Hopefully the audio is going through smoothly.
I think it's a little loud on our end.
It does seem a little loud.
Yeah.
So we can adjust that, but I just don't know how to fix the glitchiness in the video, so. All right,
All right, we are at the consent agenda. You've all had a chance to review those. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, passes 5-0. And now agency business. I imagine at this point, we turn it over to our city manager.
sure. Director Licky.
Since the Mayor Drinkwine is not here and our new appointed counselor has not joined, I'd like to try to put a motion to table for the information so that it can be presented next council meeting and they all can be involved in the presentation and the discussion, rather than just have 5 out of 7 involved. So move to table
And okay,
agency business.
move to table. I guess, do we have a
Wait.
second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion then.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
If we have quorum, there's no reason to delay this. We have quorum and we are recording this. So if they wanted to review the information afterwards, we're not going to be making any decisions today. If we were making any sort of decisions, I'd say maybe I agree to that, but we have quorum and this is informational only. And I'm already here and I'd like to not have to come back at 6:30 for another meeting some other time. So.
I'm wondering, could I go ahead? Elena and I are here to kind of co-present. We don't have a fancy presentation or anything, but to talk to you about the work we've been doing over the summer. We go ahead and talk a little bit about that, but then not necessarily make a decision on what the design should be or approve the engineering contract. We could push that till next time. We need to come back to you next time anyway, because we weren't able to, we ran out of time to get the financing needs that we have together. We need to do an IGA and we need some help from Business Oregon on that. And it was just being delayed. So we'll have to have a meeting next time anyway. But if we could just briefly kind of go over what we've learned over the summer. And then if you have questions or ideas that you want us to address, you could email those to us over the next week or so. And then we could, get your final direction at the next meeting. Would that be agreeable?
So you're saying we got to come back anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this? Are we ready to take a vote or do you have?
So I can amend the motion if need be to table the engineering contract and go with that. That works.
Sure, we could do that,
So,
just, and we
move-
could hold off, and Kurt McLeod is out of town this week, so he couldn't be here to answer specific questions about it. So he should be back next time, and then we'll just try to have everything ready to go for you next time. I'm so sorry to have you here early for a meeting when.
All right, and I move to amend my motion to be to table the Main Street engineering contract till next council meeting.
All right, do I have a second?
Yeah, because we have to do it anyway, correct? Yeah, I'll second it.
Any further discussion here? Okay. Do we have a vote then? I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
5-0.
You want
All
to
right.
start out, Elena? Okay.
So a little background, you guys decided, it looked like in April, to start asking staff to conduct outreach regarding the Main Street design. We had the initial design that Kurt created for us, and we held several meetings. We did some very targeted outreach to the businesses on Main Street. So we went to every business on Main Street. We brought them a flyer. We had created a short video on the website so they could fill out the survey there. And we also invited them to attend in-person meeting. And then we also reached out to the broader city. So we introduced it at both of the What's Up meetings. We also went to National Night Out, and we sent the survey in the downtown Estacada newsletter. So that is more targeted towards downtown recipients. And then we have the feedback that we received from that. So there was some very consistent concerns, and some of them I think we can address because they're pretty much non-issues. Like, people are concerned about decreasing the width of the road. We're not looking at decreasing the width of the road. So I think that we just need to work on our messaging for that. But there was some specific concerns that people had related to speeding was mentioned several times. There's a lot of concerns around the intersection of 4th and Main that we probably want to look at ways that we can address that. And then visibility concerns entering Main Street from all the side streets and pedestrian crossing across Main Street, which was, I think, one of the reasons why we decided to do this work, right? Okay, and they had, the survey had some suggestions on how to resolve these, a lot of stop signs or traffic lights or speed bumps. And a lot of conflicting information. So, when we asked what interests people most about the proposed design, there was people who really liked the round crosswalks. And then when you ask them what they don't like, there's people who really hated the round crosswalks. So, it's, I guess, pretty much up to you. What is your guys' direction, what you want to take this forward with? Yeah. And I think that's pretty much what came out of the survey. Yes.
Yep, sorry, go ahead. So my question is, when you said some people did and some people did not like it, did you happen to gather enough of that to get a percentage wise, or was it just you just noticed some did and didn't like the round crosswalks?
It's not a huge survey sample. So it's you'll have one person that said they liked it, one person that said they didn't like it. It wasn't
It wasn't significant.
It wasn't significant, no. Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you. And feel free to jump into if
Yeah.
I'm forgetting something. I think we don't have to, obviously carry this completely forward today because we'll have another discussion next week, or the next 2 weeks. But we'd like to get 3 or 4 priorities from you. Some of the questions are like from the initial design that was presented, actually it's still back there on the back table if anybody wants to take a look at it. The lanes, I can't remember how wide those lanes are, but I had Dawn go out and measure the lanes on Broadway, and they are less than 12 feet driving lanes. And that's not going to be the case out there. I think they were 20. I want to say they were 20.
It was pretty close to.
Yeah,
done.
but I think
it
it's
was-
marked on, it's
Mhm.
probably on here too. So things like, do you prefer the round crosswalk area or the round design at the crosswalk so that it ties in with Main, or do you like the broader, what's it called, the continental crosswalk where it's a lot of white stripes going across? Do you like the pavers? You want to skip the pavers? That would save us some money, not a huge amount of money, but things like that. Do you have ideas that you have preferences for, like the flashing lights for crossing the street, where you can push the button, things like that? So we're interested in hearing those kind of confirmations from you along with this. And I think a couple of the directors have questions.
Katie.
Okay, so I forget where we landed on the latest design, because I've seen so many different designs at this point, on parking. And I guess in this, list of results that I'm looking at, I haven't seen really any mention about people's opinions on the parking, which surprises me a little bit because the feedback that I personally hear most about the Broadway project now, we're a couple of years after its completion. The biggest complaint that I hear is about the parking. So I guess I'm kind of wondering what you guys are hearing about the proposed or about the people's opinions of the proposed design as it relates to the parking. And also looking at this design, can you remind me what our parking situation is? Are we doing parallel? Are we doing pull in or?
So there's just one small section at the upper end over near the Misley property where we're looking at putting in angled parking. The rest of it would be what it is right now. So it would be the parallel parking. And when it says, what issues do you see with the proposed design? There are several people in there that address concerns with parking, parking issues. They were concerned about the angled parking with longer trucks. And then there also, there was some specific concerns about the angled parking and coming down the hill. And is that going to impede the site? And so that was a specific concern there too.
Director Tenbush.
So my concern with the round crosswalk and, and I feel very terrible that I never thought about it before, is how it affects the, a visually impaired person. Until I read through the comments and I saw that was a comment. So, I mean, if it's something that will hinder them from crossing the street, I don't feel that we should do that just for aesthetics, if it, because I understand the whole concept of, straight lines are the easiest, policy. I've been around blind, visually impaired, the majority of my life. And, I completely understand the whole, straight line is the best way. So, as far as the circular crosswalks, I don't think they're necessary. Especially if it's going to hinder anybody in the community from being able to cross the road safely.
Technically,
That's-
but I'll go.
That's all right. You guys go ahead. I wanted
No,
to
no.
make some comments about that and the widths. I think maybe confirmation on widths.
Yeah, and actually kind of building off of Councillor Tenbush's statements. Something that I see a lot more cities doing is they're actually putting, first of all, is audible crosswalks are a big thing for vision impaired, but also having lights in the road that blink so that people that are visually impaired can actually see the crosswalk. And since we're redoing it, might be a good time to try to start putting those things in, since it's a new thing coming up in a lot of cities these days. But it's when they hit the button, it's just lights that blink along the path and take them over that way. It helps them direct where they're going. So plus also it's at night, it's a lot more evident there's a crosswalk there. So
Yeah,
when they're
typically has been dark. Hopefully it'll be a little lighter when this is done, but it's pretty dark on Main Street at night. So.
I was actually just gonna bring up the audible crosswalk as well, that I think that could be something that we can implement and that will help a lot of, not only visually impaired, but even, kids or whatever, just, I think it'd be good to just start going that direction.
My request would be to not use the same voice that they have down by the convention center, because that voice is very, very mean.
I checked on audible crosswalks for the highway and I need to send in some more information about that to ODOT. And so working on that, but I'll probably have the traffic and public safety help me with that. So would audible work because the cars aren't stopping? I don't understand how audible works like on this kind of a road.
what it would probably be, she's got a good point about this. It might be something where it might be worth putting us something to stop them, like, you know, like, for example, in Gresham off of Powell and like 170th or something like that. If the light comes on, it says stop here on blinking light or something.
On
So-
Jenny Road, they have that for Springwater corridor, not to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but
that's good.
push the button and the lights blink and then you're supposed to stop, so.
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, we can definitely get feedback from engineering and design on that. And we'll also discuss the contract for engineering, which is pretty standard, according to how Karen McLeod has always done contracts with us. But we can answer questions about that also later. And then if you think of things you want us to ask about or, you know, before the next meeting, definitely let us know. And then we can kind of revisit this. We'll also have an IGA and request approval for that taking a loan from Business Oregon to do this project that we'll need to bring to you. Anything else that?
I mean, I'd love to talk about asphalt
Oh,
art, which was the
yes, let's
second
talk-
portion of the.
You can give us an update on asphalt art
Yeah.
and then,
But if Joel wants.
Yeah, did you have something else?
Yeah.
Yes,
To
thank
this?
you. Quick question. So if I remember, the map stops right at the base of the hill, right?
mhm.
Is it possible to consider doing the hill as well? And I mean that as during the last couple of years, it's been pretty icy during the winters.
Uh-huh.
And they also have a new type of concrete out that actually drains water off it when it hits it, causing the ice reduction heavily. And it's the ice reduction on it's like 70% less. It's crazy. But it might be something to look at because our other hill, that one went down during pretty much every winter. It goes down at least a couple times. This one here, you know, I went flying down the hill a little bit trying to stop and didn't really help too much, but thank God I missed the middle thing.
Yeah.
But in the thinking, it might be, since there's only 2 ways down that area, it might be something to look at. If we're doing it anyways. I mean, I don't know how much extra expense that would be, but
Yeah.
fairly ask.
I think my only concern is that it's outside the urban renewal area, isn't it? Doesn't it end
Mhm.
right there?
I think it does.
Yeah, so that would have to, not saying it can't be done, it would
But
just
we
have
could
to be a
look
s-
into
a
it.
separate,
Mhm.
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
project.
And then also, and other things, because I know we kind of want to wrap up here, but ADA access on Broadway, if we wanted to make some changes, because we only have an ADA ramp mid block on one side. So if you're trying to get to the other side, you need to park at the ends, or if you park on the wrong side, you have to go all the way around. So we might want to look at ADA if we wanted to like add that on to this project, do any improvements on Broadway right now, and also how ADA, like, we don't have, I don't know if we need mid-block crossings where there's ramps in mid-block, or if we just, everybody on Main Street needs to go to the crosswalks, and then we just have like where the angled in parking is, have a ramp to get, I'm not sure how that could work out, but if you want to talk about that, we can also look at that.
Okay.
So, okay.
Was it more on?
It was on what she was just talking about. Mayor.
Okay,
That's a double-sized block there, so it might be a really good idea to have mid-block crossings.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if they do end up having the wrong side of the road, they have to go a lot longer.
Mhm.
So.
Okay,
actually,
we can
I guess
look at
it's the same
that.
Size block.
It's just,
Never mind.
Yeah. And then we're
Sorry.
talking a lot about pedestrians right now, which is a big goal for this, but
Mhm.
also realizing that this is like our 1 through street that gets, I don't know how much traffic it gets. Maybe the guys can put out the traffic counters. It gets a lot of traffic, and so we want to keep the flow going, but we also want them to go slow and make it better for pedestrians.
Yeah.
So-
which is what brought us
The
to asphalt art.
really quickly. yes.
Yeah, so there's a fantastic study that you can download from Bloomberg and Associates, where they funded 45 projects throughout the United States and Europe. And they found that when they were able to access the before and after historic crash data, that 50% decrease in crashes involving pedestrians and other vulnerable road users, which is fantastic. I mean, we're looking at how we can make the road safer for people who are walking and biking and so I included a bunch of information and some design ideas from other cities that have done this. Depending on the kind of supplies, it will need to be repainted everywhere from 3 to 10 years, depending on what you do with the supplies. But you know, we're a pretty art-centric city already. And so I think this would fit really well within the project. And since we're going to be closing the road already to redoing all this work, we could just take advantage of that and add some art and make it beautiful. So if you were interested in that, I think this would be a great way for the Arts Commission to partner and work on this.
I do think it's an interesting idea. You answered my question on that, the maintenance of it. So
Mhm.
that would need to be something that would need to be maintained. So I think as we're prioritizing,
Yeah.
then just understanding whatever the cost would be on that would help us with that prioritizing.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting idea. I like the pictures.
So I did include the supplies, and so some of them, like if you look at the city of Durham, which is the first example, the supplies is $6,000, and that is just for the concrete stain and the adhesive and the sealant, and that lasts from like 1 to 3 years. Now, if you're going to do like the thermoplastics, which is kind of what the crosswalks already right now, that can last a lot longer, but then you're like tripling the cost.
The upfront cost.
Yeah, the upfront cost.
Where you're getting triple the time,
Yes,
roughly.
yes, roughly. Yeah,
One
and a
last
lot of it
comment.
is based on, traffic too, so.
One last comment, if I might, for the widths, when we're talking about do the angle and parking, we would, from what Kurt had proposed before, we've reduced the sidewalks from 10 feet to 8 feet up there in front of, Mr. Misley's property where the angle and parking would be. So our sidewalks should be a little narrower to allow that angle and parking. The parking, spaces themselves would be 16 feet plus that 2-foot gutter, that where the water is concrete gutter, like on Broadway, and it's just over 15 feet of a parking space on Broadway. This would be 16 feet plus the gutter. I'm not sure if that included the gutter. So it's pretty close, but the driving lane on Broadway is 11 feet, 8 inches. The driving lane here is 17 feet. So it's
Big
It's-
difference.
a big difference. But hopefully it's still a ways to cross. It's not going to have quite the I need to row 10 miles an hour feeling that Broadway does. But hopefully we'll accomplish pedestrian help as well as getting cars going through.
And Melanie, you'd asked about pavers as well too.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts on that? Any quick discussion on that?
I like the look of it.
So I actually wanted to say something, going back to the parking really quick before we get too
Mhm.
far away from that. If that is a concern, could we just make those compact spaces?
We could, I don't know if it helps, even if they're marked compact. I still park my minivan in
Mhm.
compact spaces.
And then,
Um,
okay, well, yeah, that's true.
I
Mini.
know.
We'll
Follow around and do it. but-
And then, really quick, I kind of wanted to touch base about something that has come up a lot of times. Everybody, I think, has brought it up at least once, but then the survey respondents bringing up stop signs. It sounds like there's a lot of people who want people to stop somewhere, somehow, some way.
Mhm.
And if we had some sort of a blinking crosswalk that, someone pushes the button and it, blinks on both sides of the street and all the drivers need to stop there, basically making traffic stop on demand would sort of satisfy the needs of everybody. It sounds like it would satisfy the needs of the people who are asking for some sort of a stop sign or a stop light on Main, but at the same time also satisfy the needs of people who want a safe way of crossing where the cars are actually stopping. I love that idea. And I think that maybe the next design sounds like should have one of those included. At least from everything I've heard from everybody at this table and from a lot of these survey respondents. As far as the pavers go, I had this debate a little bit with Denise because this came up pretty early on when we were talking about pavers. We use pavers on Broadway. It's kind of a precedent that we've set. And I like cohesiveness within a city. So honestly, if we brought back the look of pavers, it would go along with the design of Broadway that already exists. But in addition to that, I wonder if there's a way that we could get creative with the pavers and kind of implement the art you were just talking about and maybe not doing it on the asphalt, but instead somehow implementing art into the pavers.
Yeah.
And then that way it's kind of like a win-win-win-win. And theoretically, maybe we could design it in a way where the paver maintenance cost is less than what this paint or, whatever that kind of art is. Maybe the cost over time would be more effective too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And we've got about 5 more minutes here. We need to wrap up.
Probably wrap up.
But we can also email you with thoughts and ideas as well too, if
then
that's all
we'll
right.
Continue on with at the next meeting and get your, your top priorities that we can send to the engineer and.
Okay. All right.
That's all right.
Did anyone else?
Yeah, I guess pavers, we can email you
Yes.
then. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Then if you feel like you've got,
Yep, I think we're good.
okay,
Go ahead and we'll wrap it up and you can close the meeting and we'll give everybody just a couple minutes break.
all
Start
right.
The next one.
Do we do board member comments here? Do we
Oh,
just
sorry.
wrap
citizen
it up?
community
Yeah, we
group
have to
comments
do-
or board members. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So we do have time for citizen and community group comments. Do we have any on urban renewal? And if you want to comment, we're wrapping up our urban renewal meeting now. We're going to start the city council meeting in just a few minutes here. We've got sign up forms over there on the desk that if you want to make a comment, we just ask that you sign up there and then give the papers over to Elena. And then she'll make sure that you're on record for comments during the city council meeting. Board member comments. Anything
Thank
further?
you. You guys for giving us a great presentation and for putting in all the work that you've been putting in this summer and this year on the Main Street beautification.
Thank you to all of you that sat through that one very exciting meeting. I appreciate you guys for showing up. And thank you, staff, as always.
Good. Okay, yep. Thank you as well. Thank you for the input here today, and we will wrap up the Estacada Urban Renewal Agency. The meeting is adjourned.